Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm in. I do love when I scramble out. Anyway, I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. I have made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this world a better place for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies that I use to gauge virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, we start this off the easy way. This is A Day in the Office, Volume 6. And all I do here, quite seriously, is putter around what I'm usually working on. And if you've got questions that come up, absolutely ask. This is just a question of implementing the same thing I talk about on positive perception. The same tools I talk about are the ones I utilize here, making little advances as we go along. What have we got? We are still bouncing back and forth as far as numbers go, but we can work with that. Now, I require one of the things I've been working on a lot of over the last little while, and I think I'll be able to finish it off this time, is the Christmas gifts. Like I have mentioned, I'm a firm believer that when you're looking at gifts, a little bit of effort put into them is so much better than just buying something. Now, granted, certain things you really are not likely to have the ability to do on your own. Things like if you know somebody that collects some form of toy, such as Lego, you're not going to be buying and be building it yourself. However, if somebody is into puzzles, it's actually not that hard to turn around and go, okay, let's make a puzzle by simply taking a picture, putting a little bit of laminate on and putting it on a cardstock of some form, and then cutting it up into various forms to just slide together. You don't worry about the big form of tongue and groove, as it were. Right? But by simply cutting it up, you're making a puzzle that has your own energy in it. Now, to be clear, am I actually going to be making a puzzle? I might, I don't know. I haven't actually decided on that just yet. What I do know, however, is that this particular figure that I'm working on finally decided to get it finished. So I am literally going out of my way to finish it, but as you can tell, it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the neck. But again, this particular one, this one, it has a very specific person to go to. I stumbled across it about a decade back and then before I got to it, decided that having a heart attack followed by a stroke was a really good idea. Kind of screwed up the idea on how I was going to get it done. But this year, I'm literally getting it finished. But as it turns out now, I end up doing a little bit of overpainting with blue. So I'm having to put the flesh tone back over top in a very thick fashion. But that's not entirely a bad thing. So what I'll end up doing is letting it dry and do several coats. But one of the other things I'm going to be looking at today is literally some of the extra projects I've been working on. Now, right now, with 15 feet office, like I mentioned, what do we got here? Nothing. Oh, there we are. I need eyeballs. Joe Stewart, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You are in with the gold. You know, because of the fact that this is Friday, and I did decide I was going on here on a regular basis, doing my best to keep it going. Although it is a little challenging on occasion. Now, one of the most difficult things for people to keep organized is not surprisingly motivation. Most people actually have a lot of motivation. You know, they're ready to go with a lot of motivation. It's discipline to keep it happening that creates the biggest problem. So now what I'm doing here is just finishing off the work that's got to be done. As you can tell, she's come a long way. You know, this particular model has come a long way from where it started. What the hell did I do with it? There it is. One thing I should do here, yeah, which I guess I will, considering I'm working on trying to get things organized, is to make certain that I actually get a list together of different gifts I've got to get done before the end of the year. And in case you hadn't noticed, one thing you got to remember is when you're working on stuff, you got to remember that it's not a question of are you absolutely perfect with it. It's more a question of are you putting effort into it to do it the way you desire it to look. Now, clearly, this is not the best, but, not the best paint job. But I am content with it, as it were. Just gotta be careful after all this work that I don't actually damage it. Let me pop that one over there to let it dry. And this would be Bam Bam. Now I am kind of interested in seeing where things go. By the way, very important factor, it has now been absolutely confirmed in a very practical fashion that I have now made through buymeacoffee.com. I've actually made more through it than I did through all of the other companies I spent thousands of dollars on to actually make ends meet. So it is official now. It's been withdrawn and dropped into my account, making it absolutely a case of I did manage to do exactly what I was setting out to do. Something to keep in mind, guys. Whatever your passion, whatever it is you desire to do in life, do your best to avoid letting anybody tell you can't do it. That you're not capable. Here's the neat part about it. Okay. When you start looking at it, it boils down to marketing, which is something I am going to be putting together. I'm going to be putting together today, as a matter of fact. Is some more marketing and some ideas as far as advertising, what have you goes, just to get word out. Now, tomorrow being Saturday, I won't be able to. I was about to say I'm going to go down and get the other books. But I'm going to go down. I'm going to go and get the PDF forms of the novels I've got going. You know, this is, again, in case you haven't noticed, this can be a little on the tedious side to get it done. Now, got to check what Bam Bam looks like here. And what Pebbles does, for that matter. So we go. Just looking up a color scheme here. Do believe that is green and black, is it not? It is. And since that is green and black, why don't we do that one first? Cobalt blue. Get to that in half a second. Now, let's get back to this particular package. There we are. Now, some of the things I've got to get done today. Now, I've got a small list here that's already been done. We've got to do that. Okay, we are there. Now, one thing that I have discovered is this. It's time to make this company grow. So, we go update my Wombox. Now, my Wombox is, very simply put, word of mouth box. Okay. Now, over here, one of the most important factors when we take a look at this particular setup, okay, is that this is the box I use for emails and what have you for my newsletter, Positive Perspectives. Matter of fact, I've got to design that, don't I? But put that over there. So I put that there. I've got to get that updated. Positive for March, I've got to get tied off, but I desire it to get done right and completed. Now, I missed the one day, which really annoys me in case you haven't figured it out. But then, doing my best to keep everything mobile at the same time hasn't worked all that well. What are we here? Calendar. That's buried, so that's going to be a problem. This one, on the other hand, what was that? Nope. We don't care about that. I require my calendar. Oh, by the way, I will be on tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific on Spaced Out Radio with the ET Connection. I've got to get done. Ooh, that is not good. Okay. 9th to 15th. I didn't get that finished. Okay. Horoscopes. Good, we'll have it out. Anyway, I will be on tonight. That's the easy part. The difficult part, of course. Now, why is that doing that? Intriguing. You know, the biggest challenge, I've got to get that done, but it's time to, because this month, and let me just run a quick calculation here. We go, where are we? Cancel. Yep, we're good. So now it's a question of getting some advertising out, which I will do. I'll be actually firing some up today, as well as going back over my whole layout for the corporation. Bear in mind, I'm looking at this, and I was planning originally, like decades ago, I was planning on starting up a healing center. Only I was intending on putting it into a building. As it turns out, I'm actually going to be looking at it and getting things set up in starting from a decentralized position. AKA, we're going to be looking at this. We're going to be looking at this and going, okay, what do we do with it? Okay, so I'm going to say it's already started on a decentralized system, as in over the net. And as you put it there quite some time back, Joe, we're already global. Now it's just a question of making it real. But I will tell you, the support that I've gotten, that I've received from all of you people here, has been absolutely mind-boggling. Because it does, it has proven to me that this can work. I just have to be consistent with it, which can be a bit of a problem in case you hadn't noticed. Now, this neat little critter, we're just getting around to finishing him off. You remember when this particular one was just simply the white. Well, we are getting rid of just the white to paint it, to give it some more life, give it a little more color. But again, this is simply to help me visualize what I'm working with. Now we can safely say that this particular little critter, and part of what I'm doing here, I should really think before I speak, but the odds of that happening aren't good. But what I'm looking at here is, by doing these figures, I find one that looks close, so that as I'm writing, I can actually get a little clearer image of it. And that seems to be working reasonably well. One drawback with the painting side of it is I really have to look at it and go, okay, how do we paint it and make it stand? Well, the catch to it is it's going to take literally several coats. Although Pebbles and Bam Bam are just about done. The nice part about it is that when you got something that you do find you enjoy, okay, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's singing, then you sing. Do not make the mistake. When I was younger, I had a lot of people tell me I couldn't sing at all. And I heard it so often that I just have no functional interest in it. Okay, because I kept getting told every time I went to sing, somebody would tell me, you've got a lousy voice, you can't carry a tune, right? You hear it often enough and you eventually begin to believe it. Now, do I actually believe that I can't sing? Honestly, singing is one of these things that is literally your own choice. It's it depends on the listener. Okay, you're never going to sound good to everybody, nor are you going to ever sound bad to everybody. The real key is whether you sound good and or bad to you. And yes, that sounds absolutely bizarre. But it boils down to no matter what other people tell you, you're the one that's got to believe in you. Now, I will certainly do what I can to help you in that department. Okay, I've been in the consulting field now. Well, literally since I was 10, but I started professionally doing it as in making an income of it. I actually started when I was 23. Now, I've seen a lot of things over the years, and the one thing I discovered was that no matter how you do things, if you turn around and you put your effort into something you enjoy, you'll find it comes together quite nicely. Problem: if you start buying into other people's stuff, there's a very big complication you're going to run into. As in other people's opinion, oh, you can't write, people say you can't make money writing. Well, I'm going to ask you this. Ever hear of a chap by the name of, I don't know, George Lucas, maybe Steven Spielberg? Possibly, you might know Stephen King. These are people that decided they were going to do something very creative. Okay, now whether it was to make money, whether it was to just pass a message on or a storyline, I cannot be certain. What I can be certain of is that you are capable of attaining your dreams, no matter how odd they are, providing you stick with karmic law. Meaning, be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Now, this particular model I'm working on is actually one for me personally. I'm not actually giving this one to anybody. This one's just eventually going to go on my wall. But it really boiled down to the fact that I got it, I decided that I wanted to do it, or more to the point that I desired to do it. Therefore, it's getting done. Now, I have heard people tell me that, they were working in that field. They turned around, did this, made money at selling them. Well, I probably could if I felt they were good enough. I'm just not that interested. Okay, so I'm relegating it for my own use for the different gifts around throughout the year. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying you as an individual should be painting all your gifts. I'm just saying that all gifts, if they are handmade, have more of a positive, of a involved energy to them. That didn't work all that well. One thing I did find with these particular paints is because they're going on plaster, they do tend to, so the paint soaks in a lot. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind here. Okay. Not the least of which, what do we got here? Didn't have my glasses on. Oh, there we go. Joe's just letting us know that the cemetery is going good. The veil must be really changing. No activity back there at all at night. Well, here's the thing. The veil itself isn't actually changing. The veil's been the same way, from my experience, been the same way since it was first put in place. But everything ebbs and flows. And right now, people are being caught up a lot more in their own world and in changing the way things are going, and therefore not putting as much effort into looking beyond the veil. For those of you that are not aware of the terminology, I look at the veil literally as the gap between life and death. And they're really not that different when you think about it. What did I do? Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll do that. One of the neatest things, the veil itself, we are going to get into on a discussion later. Because it literally boils down to the separation between this world and the next. Okay, as in the corporeal world, and between the corporeal world and the world beyond death. It's not as scary a thing as you might think, but for those of you that are really going down that road, something you might want to consider. Everything that has life ends up going to the same place after death. So yes, you will end up getting the opportunity from everything I've seen. You'll get the opportunity to see your loved ones, to see your family, and quite frankly, you'll really get the option of seeing the people you didn't like. But the rules are different over there. Okay, and what I mean by that is that you may find the people that you were at odds with, that you become very good friends with on the other side and set things up to sort of bring things back into balance. Well, the reason for that is because every lifetime you come here, you come with the idea of gaining a certain amount of wisdom around a given situation. Now, that can be extremely advantageous, but sometimes you do sort of have to have a little bit of an issue. You got to have a little bit. You got to have a little bit of help to make things happen. So all I'm doing here is just getting a paint level down. As you can see, this particular figure is almost completed. And then I start planning what I'm doing with the rest of the office. Definitely got to be a little bit more careful here, but that's okay. Okay. He can sit there and dry out for a bit. Now, what do we got going on here? It's kind of funny, Joe. I did decide to come back here, to come back to this hour. But it's intriguing to me, and what this does for me is gives me the opportunity to get focused and get things done. Where I'm in the office working on them. But for the number, to be clear, for the number of people that have mentioned they really wanted me to stay on this time, I don't see much of any of them. I'm going to have to go in and look at it afterwards. What do we got? Oh, look at that. I'm just scrolling down here a little. And that's not bad. We do have five people in the room right now. When I talk about projects, The painting is so I can get things done and completed on projects I've been working with that I've been putting off. What's that? That's my blue. I've had to put them aside because I just didn't have the time to get focused on them. But I just put it. Thankfully, the paint tends to dry very quickly. Where did I put it? Right there. There we go. Tends to dry very quickly, so I can get these guys wrapped up. Now, this isn't a great job, but it does get the coloring across for me. But I was working on some writing earlier. Speaking of which, I gotta get more of that done. I've got, which one is it now? Believe in your organization and follow your dreams. I'm halfway through writing the enhanced chakras, or more to the point, chakras and enhanced view. I've got the items marked off in it. Now I just have to literally fill in the blanks. The other neat part that I'm finding with this is that the races of the world, I'm now pushing to get done. I'll be working on more of that tonight. And just getting the bits and pieces racked off. I think I've got one picture left I've got to get renamed. And once I do that, we're in good shape. Okay, that ain't going to work that well if I'm not careful. There we go. This is why I say the list method I'm talking about does work. It helps you get things organized so you don't end up getting all tied in knot. Now, one of the things that you got to realize is you can get caught up in listing off the things you've got to get done, which is what I used to have a very major problem with. At this point, not so much. Because I got looking at it going, I really have to take a look at this and make certain that I stay on top of it. But a lot of the clutter I was trying to get rid of is now gone. And as you can see, because these are bigger areas I'm working with, it's easy to see progress. The one thing I am curious about is I know a lot of people have a lot of dreams. There was a show done back, I think, in the 80s called A Bucket List. And I'm a firm believer you should actually look into getting one done for yourself. Just things that you would like to do, that you would like to experience this lifetime. Many of you won't get them done. Primarily because of the fact you don't realize how. If you don't realize how to get your projects done, you're not going to manage to accomplish it. That's just literally the way that's going to work out. What is this? You haven't seen this guy out for a while. And he's supposed to be in green, so let's do that. Whoop. Got a number of things that popped up there. And what do we got here? Here we go. Joe goes, I will say even before 2025, even before 2024, I've seen some of the most off the wall things happen back there at night. Absolutely. Lauren Fowler, how you doing? Yeah, we are, I'm doing well enough. I appreciate the question on that. I will be, just for your edification, actually for everybody's edification, I will be on here Mondays and Fridays from 4:30 p.m. usually to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Just literally puttering around in the office, getting things done that I've got to work on. Because what happens is I get sidetracked. I've gotten a little sidetracked and not taking the time to sit down. So what do we got here? Because I've got to do some work in the office today. Oh, I am, just a thought. I am looking at paint all over my hand. Where are we? We are looking at coffee cups. I'll be looking into these this week. Coffee cups and t-shirts. But I'm going to be working with very limited ones simply because of the cost of getting them up and running while I'm getting the books up and running. Actually, the books are coming along nicely. I was talking to my printer yesterday, I think. And she's going to get me the PDFs of the books themselves. Which is an interesting setup. Where are we here? Yeah, it can be a little bit, and it can be a little disconcerting. This is why this list method works out quite well. Now, this I'm just going to put out there and see what happens. I am going to be carrying limited numbers, or more to the point, limited sayings on t-shirts, and for that matter on coffee cups. Okay, but I've got an entire lock on the way on what I'm looking at. Okay, as in why they're either going to be sayings I work with positive perceptions, with positive perspectives, or with the writings themselves, is what I'm thinking. Some of the sayings that I've stumbled across over the years work really well. But it dawned on me there's a couple that I desired to get for other people. Okay, in the way of Christmas gifts. So I'm going to pick those up, but I'm only going to be getting a very small number to start with, and then there'll be a delay in getting them out. But what I'm going to do is figure that pricing out as I go along. But let me ask you this. If you were looking at buying a t-shirt with an embroidered phrase on it, assuming you like the phrase, what do you feel is a decent price for, is an acceptable price for it? Okay, same applies to coffee cups. Because I'm going to have to look into pricing based on what it's going to cost me to have them done. I've still got to look into drop shipping to cut down on shipping costs, but that's sort of one of those things I got to work with. Where are we here? Did I? No. Oh, today's Friday, so I didn't actually game today. By the way, and I've mentioned this already, I will be on Space Out Radio tonight with the ET Connection. You know, the fact of the matter is that when I'm looking at getting things accomplished, I've got to look at it going, okay, what what am I up against? What is available? What's that? That's orange. I don't want to do that. That is bright red. That's crimson. Whoop. No, that's Tucson. Well, why don't we do that? And my green. Ouch. Leaf green. There we go. Let's take a look at this one and see if it's done. It was dry enough. Yep. Pine green. Let's see. There we go. Nothing like getting a whole pile of stuff done all at once. Because what's actually happening here is I'm able to get it painted. So that I'm at least happy with it. Because the reality is when you're working on gifts, okay, if you're not happy yourself, you can bet they're not going to be. Actually, in all fairness, you really can't bet on that. Again, beauty or quality is literally in the eye of the beholder. And we'll get to painting beholders a little later. Just not tonight. So I'm just looking at this going, okay, I know what I'm striving to do. But I've decided that this year, I'm not asking people what they actually want for Christmas or what they'd like for their birthday. I'm just going, this is what I desire to give you. And hope that works out for the best. You know, the neat part about it is the more you work with things, the more comfortable you'll get. So maybe you've got a goal, and this is just put out there because I'm in the process of tying it off. But maybe you've had a dream of getting a short story written. You've got the short story already written, but perhaps you've sent it off to a publisher and they said, oh, this isn't good enough, or, it's not long enough, or whatever the qualifier is. Now, I will tell you, I am looking at putting together a anthology of other people's works. Now, what I was told, what was suggested to me was when it comes to poetry, you put the price out at a single price for a given topic, for a given subject or a given book, right? Understand, I'd have to lie to say I'm going to do it for free. That's just not what's going to happen. But what does happen is the tentative price, and it's probably going to stay that way in all likelihood, is I'm looking at turning around and setting the poetry in motion. And this sort of takes a little bit of research. In your eyes, what would it be worth to you to actually get a poem put in print where you actually get a copy of the book, with a lot of other people's poetry in it, but your submission cost, what would you feel is reasonable if you had a poem and you were just desiring to get it printed? Now, I will tell you, printing one poem it's a bit problematic. Okay, it's a bit price prohibitive. Okay, but I'm figuring if I turn around, now let's see, get this part done. I'm going to do some calculations here while I'm sitting here. This is why I call it day in the office, is because I do have a tendency, of getting myself working on way too many things all at the same time. So I'm going to get this particular little project, as in just the baseline of the shirt, done, so it looks passable. I'm not actually overly worried about it being perfect. And then I'm going to do some quick calculations, because the reality is, yes, I've got to make a living, but here's the neat little part about it. Okay, this is why I've got to work out the pricing on. If I can get an anthology put together whereby it can go out at a decent price to people, see, we'd be looking at, nope, that wouldn't work. That would, though. And that's just a real cursory examination of the numbers, but then that's what I do in my head. If I turn around and go, okay, $20, you turn a poem in, okay, you will get a free copy of the book in your hand. Okay, free copy of the book signed in your hand. Okay, and all I require is a letter from you that is the poem itself, and a quick little letter that says, and I'm paraphrasing, you can put it any way you'd like, that this is my own original work. That you wrote the poem. I will not be printing anything that cannot be read by the general public, and certainly will not be printing anything, even if you submit it with the best letter available, it could be the best poem in the world. I personally, it's not that I've got it that I say you can't write that, but I will not be printing anything that promotes violence, segregation, that I see as promoting, not what you're intending, but that I see as promoting it. I won't put any of it down that promotes dissidence. Okay, the primary reason for that is simple. If I do that, it's not going to help anybody bring peace closer, which is ultimately what I would like to see happen. But no, I do find it entertaining. And this is why I had to do this and go, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come back online for a day in the office. Literally, it is for me to keep things organized. for me to get things done that I've been putting off. And the only reason I'm not actually doing any writing right at the moment is because it does take a lot more of my attention. Okay, now, this particular one here, still using the same green, so I figure what the heck, we might as well work on this. This again, that is a 10-headed Hydra. Okay, honestly, it's patterned after the Greek mythological one of the Linnaean Hydra, where you cut off one head and two more grow back in its place. Net result, this particular figure, it's actually received a lot more color in the last month or so. Well, this is the 6th episode, so we're looking at about a month because I'm doing my best to get 2 a day and 2 a week off. But like I say on my nighttime run, and by the way, much as I'll be on Spaced Out Radio, I will not be doing Positive Perceptions tonight because it conflicts with Spaced Out Radio. That's like a whole lot of work to do and way too many projects on occasion. See, one of the things I keep looking at is this. I got a lot of things I'm trying to work with. A lot of different projects I kept putting off. And now it's finally reached the point where I'm going, no, I desire to get these things done. So that's what I'm working on. But this is why I say you got projects that you've been putting off. Break them down into smaller tasks. And what do we got here? Eyeballs. Yeah, Lauren, you were in with the silver, and this means Rachel Andrews, you are in with the bronze. How you doing? Oh, here we go. Rachel's going, daughter and grandkids just left back to the coast. Well, I do wish them to say a very safe journey. Hopefully they're not going over the mountains. Because the mountains right now, I suspect, are really bad in the way of an awful lot of snow. I used to travel over the Coquihalla all the time, as in twice a month in the dead of winter. Now I barely leave my house. But that's because I don't like the snow anymore. And besides that, I'm not quite as thick-skinned as I used to be. So when I start looking at the temperature I can deal with, I used to walk around in shirt sleeves at 10 below. Now that means that'd be around about 50 degrees, your guys' temperature. For the temperature in the States. Now, not happy. I think that's about the right temperature. About 50. But what I have come to understand is that apparently that does not fit that well. what I have come to understand is that there is a lot that can be done if you put your mind to it. And, like I was saying, if you've got a poem or a short story, and I just ran the numbers in my head here, which gives you an idea how well that works, at $20 per poem with a letter verifying it, or at least claiming it's your original work, you'll end up with a book back. Okay, with a book with your poem in print. Okay, and it will be a signed copy. Okay, well, it'll be signed by me. It won't be signed in all likelihood by everybody else. Although if I can figure out how to make that happen, I will. The neat part about it is if you do that, and that could be a while down the road because it depends on when I get enough submissions. But it's just a question of one step at a time. Same is going to apply to the short stories, which are things I'm working on. Needless to say, I get a lot of things I work on all at once. But in case you hadn't noticed, that seems to be working to get these things done. This is why this particular figure is almost complete to a point of satisfaction on my part. Don't know if it's satisfying on anybody else's. Doesn't really matter. The thing that you got to remember when you're working on a project, make sure that you're content with the outcome. Do not worry too much about everybody else. Providing you're not breaking karmic law. There we go. Coming along nicely. Just boils down to an issue of making certain that I get the proper paint done on it. But this is just one of those things that I look at going, this is what I'm working on, and therefore, this is how I'm going to play it out. Haven't got a place to put this one as far as ratings go yet, but I've got a number of other smaller writing projects I'm working on. I know when I go off air tonight, I will be tying off believe in your organization. To believe in your organization or believe in your success, I'll get finished tonight. No, I think it's to believe in your success, I'll get finished tonight. It's only going to take a couple hours. But the reality of it is that once it's done, you'll have access to it and thereby be able to actually, if you will, you'll be able to pin down and organize your own path to success. But don't kid yourself. All the prayers and all the wishful thinking and positive affirmations in the world aren't going to do you a bit of good to speak of if you don't get your tail off the couch. That's just the reality behind the way life works. And the whole idea that some people claim, i.e., God helps those that help themselves, it's actually correct. The problem you got to remember is that the fact that God helps him, them, and those that help themselves doesn't mean that he helps thieves, although it probably seems like it on occasion. You know, what I'm doing here is going, okay, I've got these little projects I've got to get out of the way. So I can actually say, okay, they've been done. And given the fact that I've got like 500 of these guys, okay, it is time I start getting them tied off. Not making bad headway in my eyes. Whoop, didn't want to do that. But then this is just the growth work to start with. Let me ask you this. Are you content with the way your life is laid out right now? With the things you've accomplished, with the goals that you've had in mind, are you content with the progress you've made? If the answer is no, then I will tell you I have in my possession a book that I'm quite proud of that will help you get that side of your life in order. Okay, and that's this funny little book here. Should be this one. Yep. Believe in yourself and follow your dreams. This one literally dictates, and by the way, before I do that, this is only $20 Canadian in your hand as a booklet. If you're just looking for the PDF, it's $10 Canadian in your hand. Okay. Now, the nice part about it is that when I'm looking at it, and yes, there's all kinds of negative things I've seen there, but this is literally the backbone of how I changed my life. I've been told by a lot of people that the tools in these self-help books that I've got in the Believe in Your series, it's not that they're complicated. It's literally that they are simple enough to help make the rest of them make sense. So if you're still having trouble getting mobilized, getting motivated, okay, then that's what I'm here for. That's why I've decided to go back to the consulting side of things and go, okay, these are the options. This is the steps you've got to take. Now, warning, I'll tell you the steps that are required. I'm not about to make you do it and do them. So that's one of those things that you're going to have to look at and go, okay, is this really worth it to me? Well, as you can see, it takes a fair amount of work to get things accomplished. But to be clear, there are so many different programs out there that say, oh, if you do nothing, just sit on your tail feathers, you'll be able to make all this extra money. Well, I got bad news for you. You're being lied to. Okay? Because I will tell you, and I've seen this myself, if you don't put some effort into things, you're not likely to get the feeling of accomplishment you're hoping for. It is problematic at best. Don't mind me. I get tied up in my own little world on occasion. What do we got here? I found that like I used to travel a lot. And I came to the conclusion I just didn't desire to do it anymore. So, in a nutshell, I quit with the travel. I will travel if I end up with or more to the point, when I end up with an invite to go on a show somewhere, or to go on a speaking engagement, I will certainly entertain the idea, and if I can work it out with finance and the whole 9 yards, you can bet I'll be there. But it's going to take some time. The thing that I've got to do, that I find I have to remind people, is I'm not the person to talk to about diplomatic approaches, because I'm a firm believer that as long as you stay focused, as long as you stay focused on being genuine, on being honest with what you're saying, then things will likely work out for you. They'll certainly work out better than if you sit back and lie. And yes, just to be clear, to those of you that are not aware of it, if you're embellishing too much, okay, it's still lying. And besides that, it sets the stage for you having one very big problem. If you embellish on your own abilities and your own expertise, it's going to come back and bite you, because the truth will come out. And no, by the way, that is not intended as a threat by any functional stretch. And we have Christine. How you doing? Glad you could join us. And you are actually in with honorable mention. I do hope your days have been going well. Yeah, in all fairness, I do there, Joe. Okay, I've got some figures. As a matter of fact, we just started a new game, and I don't have it down back here. I should probably go and get it. Matter of fact, that's not a bad idea. We just started a new game, a new campaign, where I'm running a druid, and we've come across. I've already picked 2 of the 3 animals that I'm going to be able to turn into as my character gets older, gets more experienced. But now I'm starting to look at the characters and go, okay, how can I build this the right way? Now, the current one from my solo campaign, where are we here? Eyeball. Keep putting my glass down, forgetting where I put them. My day hasn't gone bad. The reality is there, Christine, I ended up sleeping for part of it again. But I think that's because of the fact that I've been so stressed out in recent months that having it finally start to pan out is eliminating a lot of the problem. This is one of the reasons. Like, I woke up at 5 this afternoon. Bear in mind, I'd only gone to bed. I went back to sleep at 4. Grab an extra hour's nap. But I did that because I pushed myself way too hard to start with. I am, by the way, once I've got the money available, okay, I am going to be taking an art course. Now, in all fairness, I'm likely to start drawing on my own accord and figure it out from there. But like everything, whatever you're setting your mind to, make sure you enjoy it first. Okay, and second of all, do not let anybody tell you that you cannot succeed at it. They may not be able to. And I will warn you, where it comes to the creative industries, it is going to be difficult to get into the different well, that's going to have to pause, because Family first. Well, hello. Did I get you? Can do. On my way. Yes. Yeah. I will be right back, guys. Stay put. I'll be back. The screen is still on. No problem. Okay, guys, like I said, family first. So, that was my munchkin wanting to get back in the house. Kind of funny thing is, something like 13 or 14 below out there. Can't imagine why you didn't want to stay outside. Well, where are we here? Put my glass down, forgot again. Yeah, ultimately, Christine, I don't really get a choice on that. One of the issues I run into is when I'm tired, I'm going to go to sleep. Matter of fact, I've been known to go to sleep right smack in the middle of a conversation with somebody. So right now, this is just a question of I've got figures to do. Different figures I'm working on and different writing projects. I'm not really concerned with being perfectionistic by any means. But I am going to do my best to make things turn out right. Nice part about it is I'm the one that's got to decide whether I'm doing it well enough. But these are just projects that I've put off. I've gotten and got sidetracked doing too many things. So I figured if I can get these focused, then I'm doing well. Well, that's the right color for her. Couple of touch-ups I gotta do there. This particular paint job, I just do them part of it at a time because I need to let the paint set. So, take that. I'll put this one aside as well. Now, what do we got here? Yeah, the one thing that you guys have to realize, if you've got a project that you'd like to get done, pace yourself with it. Okay. I'm still a firm believer that physical books have a feel about them that is so much better than PDFs or so much better than auditory. Now, understand the people in the blind community absolutely, they'll have to rely on auditory as compared to books because it's this. I can't read Braille, never mind write it at this point. Now, did you dry up enough to touch? Yes. I know what color I want there. I think that's that there. Leaf green. Well, that particular paintbrush isn't going to work. Fortunately, I got a whole pile of these over here. You want that one? That'll work. Move that over there. And oh, wait a minute. Nope, that's not a problem. Where are we here? Because I got a bunch of stuff I'm going to be. Whoa, here, what do we got? Christine's just going, I think Christian Slater's character in an 80s movie that said that, but didn't say Earthlings. You know, I wouldn't debate it. The reality of it from my standpoint is this. Like, I'm not entirely certain what I said, which really makes sense. But some of the things I find are quotes I pull out of movies that I watched because they say it so beautifully. You know, most of the ones I remember literally come from some of the more volatile ones. You know, some of the more volatile movies. Not the least of which would be things like, I forget what movie it was, but I made a modification of one. Right, there was a movie that came out, and what it said was, "It's a good day to die." Well, I modified that and went, and I've got one character in the Elderbachian Chronicles that literally goes, he literally looks at people because he is a combatant. This is Blade. By the way, Blade was named before the Wesley Snipes movie came out. Right. And the Blade in this particular Blade is an ex-military buff. Okay. But he modified the saying a little. And he literally goes with, it's a good day for them to die. You know, it's just one of those neat little things, neat little catches that he runs with. But I am working on a collection of short stories regarding the backgrounds of the primary characters out of the Elderbachian Chronicles. And then I will be, as a matter of fact, I've already started printing them in Positive Perspectives, in the newsletter, just as an entertainment factor. Because again, as I've mentioned, literally speaking, all things are connected. Okay. Meaning, in my case, stories can connect in through the written work, in through the live feeds, and in through the novels themselves. Now, I am curious whether or not what people's take is on whether or not I should look at reading some of the short stories out loud on the air, like during my time in the office here. just to get a feel for them. Now, do understand, I am by no means a clear narrator. You know, I don't feel I'm good at it at all, frankly. But I am looking at different things to do to possibly bring a little bit more life that is not depressingly, oh, the world's ending. There's enough of the world ending stuff and enough of the separation stuff going on. I don't personally feel we need to emphasize it anymore. It is, however, a bit challenging for many people to actually look past the amount of garbage that we're being bombarded with. Which is why I tell people, for pity's sakes, when you're working with things, when you're listening, when you get exposed to even one negative piece of information, go out of your way to experience the input of at least two positive. Because in doing that, you'll keep your own energy levels at a decent point where you won't have to fight depression quite so much. And again, I don't expect you to believe that outright. Okay? It literally boils down to an issue of if you haven't done it before, give it a shot, do your own research, and see what you come up with. If you find over a short period of time, or for that matter, over a long one, that you're starting to feel better about yourself and about your place in the world, then apparently the idea is working. In my case, I'm looking at what I'm doing and going, I'm getting these projects done. So that I can look at them and say, I accomplished something. And I accomplished something of a positive nature. So let me ask you this. If you start looking at different merchandising items, I don't want to get too spread out, which is why I'm sticking to two themes: the Ilderbockian Chronicles and self-help. It's funny because I look at it going, if I come up with an idea, yes, it is technically possible. Well, it's literally possible. Somebody could steal my idea. Okay. And I could pay to get things really clamped down. But here's the kicker. With today's world, I'll tell you right now, people will find a way to get it no matter how much money you pay. Okay. So you do the best you can with an open heart and see what you can come up with. But for me, it's just a simple issue of working one step towards the next to make sure I stay on top of things. It's just a bit tedious on occasion. I'm hoping the weather tomorrow is decent. I've got a couple of things I gotta go out and run around and do. But I don't travel much in the real cold weather. I found it is quite frankly counterproductive. Since I don't like the cold to start with, I figure why subject myself to it? Oh, I missed it altogether. I was going to watch wrestling tonight. But the reality is, I also decided that I was coming on here, and here is where I went. as you can see, this creature is this one, and I don't know where it came from originally. I just like the look of the figure. But this is called the package I bought it from, bought it in, called this particular little creature a Froghemoth. And as you can tell by the look of it, it's supposed to be a pretty big little character. In all fairness, if you take a look at it, and I can't turn it around all that well, but if you look at where the knee is, that's about the height of a human. That's standing at about the 6 foot mark. Now, put that down there. I gotta check him out and see what he's got, but this little guy here I can deal with. Let me do that. Leaf green? No, that's pine. Yeah, that's pine there, so we'll do that. Yeah. Hey, what do we got? I'd apologize, but the reality is it doesn't make much sense. Well, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I remember, the funny thing there, is I remember the name Christian Slater, but I can't place any of his movies offhand, which doesn't bother me too terribly much. Because I look at it going, if they produce a movie that is enjoyable, that's great. Whoop, that's pine. If they produce one that adds up, then I'm quite content with it. If it's a movie that they put together that doesn't catch my attention, I don't worry about it. Because there are some movies I really enjoyed while I watched them, but that didn't necessarily add up to a lot for me. They didn't hold my attention, as it were. But the way I figure it, I just take care, I take care of this sort of thing. And I've already made a few notes for things I'll be working on afterwards. But I will be on air tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific to discuss the ET connection. And that's where we have a lot of interaction. And even here, I tell you, like I've said before, if you have a question, absolutely come out and ask. And I will do my best to answer. Oh, here we go. Oh, okay. Thank you very much there, Woo. Now, Gleaming, the Cube skateboard movie, I do not recall. But Robin Hood with Christian Slater, I do, or with Kevin Costner, rather. I recall that movie. Oh, there we go. See, I like the movie The Blob. The movie The Blob there, Joe, I really enjoyed. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the movie The Blob, and you look at the way that thing works, that particular movie actually depicts an oversized version of, but actually depicts what a Corlock really is. They are just literally a massive blob of organic matter that has no functional form. This does not mean it does not have functional intelligence. As a matter of fact, if you watch Star Trek, the old Star Trek Deep Space Nine, you would end up running into a chap by the name of Odo. There you have the best rendition of a Corlock that I know of. Because they are complete metamorphs. which is why they can do what they do. But it does take a certain amount of effort on their part. It's kind of like in DC Comics, the Kree, who are able to shapeshift to a different person's appearance. And by the way, one of the things I do personally believe is a lot of the different stuff that we watch in the way of comics, in the way of some of these science fiction movies. The reality is that kind of thing exists, not in another dimension, by the way. Well, it might do it in another dimension, but that kind of ability exists in the third dimension. Just apparently not on Earth for the most part. Probably a good thing given the level of fear around here. Well, I am actually making decent headway in my eyes. And realistically, that's the important factor. There we go. As you can see, used to be totally white, now he's starting to take on color, which is a good thing, at least in my eyes. And we pump that up there. Robbie here. I do need my eyeballs if I'm going to keep an eye on things. There we are. Oh, there we go. Thank you. And that just put a face. I appreciate that, Woo. Now that I knew who we're talking about, because the actors' names I don't look into more often than not. But the fact that Christian Slater played Will Scarlet in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves back in '91 tells me exactly who he was. Well, who he is. Now, where am I here? Well, look at that. I do not believe I've already gone through an hour and a half here. Now, let us go back onto this screen for half a moment. Yeah. That's going to take a little bit of work. So let us see what happens if we look up Bam Bam. Oh. I was wrong. Want that. Oh. His hair was decidedly white. Well, look at that. I need the orange for his hat. That'll break him up. So let's do that. Forgot about that little part. Now, get some of these out of the way. Some of the different paints. Just so I've got room to work. Again, whenever you're working, this is why I do my best to keep my office clear. So I can actually function with it. Grab you, bring you over here. Yeah, let's go find another paintbrush. That'll work. There we are. Missed the beanie on the top of his head. So in this case, I'm just literally looking at the top of it. And this will put the final touch, sort of. On the first coat of paint, then all I have to do is copy over it. The neat part about it with this is because of the fact I know who this one specifically is going to. I know it's just a matter, like I'll have it here for another year. Not that I'll be working on it for that long, but that it will eventually leave my house. But let me add what. Missed a whole pile there, obviously, because it just scrolled up. What do we got here? Okay, just scrolling back up a little. That's Christine, I really appreciate that. Let me see, where are we here? There we go. Christine. You've asked, are there any questions you want us to ask in SOR? The reality is there are so many questions that really have what I call massive misinformation in them that really require being cleared up. If there's something, the best I can tell you is if there's something that doesn't add up. Okay, like one of the biggest questions I always ask, even with the big whistleblowers and the big name researchers, people keep talking about the offworlders getting ready to invade Earth. Okay, and nobody seems to have any viable way of looking at it aside from, we'll just defeat them. Bad news. Nobody's ever figured out how they're going to defeat them. And the other one that I always find fascinating is when people are still propagating, and I'm not going to tell you who they are, but there are big names out there that are still propagating the idea that this is a prison planet. Now, the thing that fascinates me there is these same people will talk about ongoing abductions. Now, we know their technology is better than Earth's because, well, let's face it, they're coming from not here. Okay, but with better technology, how is it that if this is a prison planet, how is it possible that so many people can get caught up with the idea it's still a prison planet, and yet massive amounts of uncontrolled abductions are taking place? Okay, it's just I find it fascinating with the number of people. I look at the information I've got, and yes, like so many people, I question my own sanity with this. Okay. I don't research, so a lot of the times I don't have the information. I don't know where, how to say, this is how I know. I just simply come across it. Now, well, I'm just scrolling down here to catch up on the ones that have been coming up now. Yeah, the Swamp Thing was another one that was really interesting. Some of the old movies are great. I've seen them. I just haven't. I couldn't tell you who the actors were for the most part. What do we got here? I haven't actually watched the UFO documentary, Capturing the Light. What I have done though is I looked at the original Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and I can tell you that is one movie that they absolutely got the rendition of the reticulans and the Zeta reticulans and the Zeta reticulan D. Absolutely got it on the money. Okay. That's one of those movies I definitely recommend if you want to take a clear look at them. What do we got here? Yeah, I don't know when the original Blob came out. Yeah, some of the videos out there are absolutely fantastic. That's one of the reasons I looked at the idea of the orbs and the number of films that people have come up with that show the orbs, in various forms, and they go, "Oh, these are all something bizarre." Well, the massive majority, and most people are not going to like this one. The massive majority of the orbs that people film are literally dust particulates suspended in the air and catching the light. And yeah, I know there are many of you that will say, I've seen orbs and you're not going to tell me they were fake. No, I'm not. Okay, I am not a video analyst. So I'm certainly not going to tell people what's fake and what isn't. But I will tell you that what I do know is the massive majority of the ones I've been seeing that I've been shown, they are missing an energy pattern from my eyes for me to be able to say, yeah, absolutely, that was such and such. Now I will tell you, somebody sent me a question about a ship the other day, and there was absolutely no question what we were dealing with. It was absolutely clear when they sent the description of it what the race was. It was a Taurian orb ship. Okay, and because of that, I can tell them without a shadow of a doubt, yep, this is what you were looking at. It's not always that easy, by the way. Now, this is working out rather well. This particular, this is Bam Bam, right? And he is just about completed. I've got to do his face, say like his face and what have you still, but he himself is almost complete. And then I'll be able to put him aside and carry on with other projects. But after I get done here, I'll spend the next little while doing writing and getting some of those projects. I've got one in particular I really want to tie off. Well, in all fairness, Races of the Worlds I've got to go through and start expanding on it. And then, so I'll be doing a lot of that this week, I think. Because I've got to get planned how I'm going to make things happen. To really get things moving so that I can, again, start pulling a better income from my own work. Because I don't know about you, but yes, I've got support coming in from the government. That's great. I paid into it for the longest time. It's fair. I should get some of it back. But the reality is I would rather be making money through my own efforts still. Okay. Than just taking a feedback from what I've already contributed to. So I'm going to continue working on that. But it does take time. It does take effort. So that's how that's going to go. There we go. And get some of these put back where they belong. What time are we looking at here? Oh, look at that. We are at 10 after 6 already. Which is kind of amazing in some ways. Eyeballs. She shows from an old camera from the 50s. Oh, it's a Canadian film. Yeah. The thing is, I get a kick out of it, There is so much. There is so much going on that people don't pay attention to. But I look at it and it's like, okay, how do we get things to connect? Yes, mankind is making some phenomenal changes, but they're still caught up so much in fear that there is a big problem that's got to be turned around. I honestly don't even know the group called Alien. I've never even heard of them, but then, let's face it, as Barbara Mandrell put it, I was country when country wasn't cool. But, again, if you're looking for any of the books that I've been working on, that I've written, or that I'm in the process of working on, absolutely check out the link at the top of the stream. buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej. Okay. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing on Monday. I'm going to think of it. Today's Thursday. Today's Friday, so I'm right. At 9 o'clock tonight, I will be going on the Spaced Out Radio for the ET Connection. Okay. Don't know what we're going to be talking about because, in all fairness, the whole thing there. Under my feed, obviously my feed locked. With Spaced Out Radio, I do tend to feed right off of what I feed off of right off of what people are asking. There we go. So now it's just a question. Now it's time. Where are we? We are at quarter after. I should look at clearing some of this up. These are just little paint containers I've been putting the paint in to work with and getting it out of the way. But this really boils down to an issue of different things I've been working on. And again, when you're working on a workstation, absolutely imperative that you keep the area clear so you can function. And yeah, I got a lot more paint down up front than what I've got here. That's the other one. There it is. There we go. See, now I get all this stuff out of the way. One of the things I look at when I look at it, and I'm still working out how to get things organized in here, for a day in the office. This is just covering what I personally do while I'm puttering around. Kind of an important thing from my standpoint. Because it literally boils down to getting the stuff dealt with that I end up putting off for one reason or another. Barely those to dry out. Yeah, Christine. Oh, Christine, you're just saying on SOR tonight I can advertise my books and the services sessions, I think it's called. Yeah, the sessions, whether you call them consulting, whether you call them readings, there's a lot of different names. Okay. And yeah, I will be. I really should. And I think what I'll do is I'll just have. I've got the one book there. I'm still worrying because I ran into some serious financial problems. Getting pictures done was a bit of a problem. Or more to the point, when you take a look at the mess I went through in the last couple of years, you may not have known it. Okay. But with the amount of money I wasted on so-called professional marketers, it created a massive problem for me. Right, which set things back. I couldn't do the things I should have done. I ran out of money to be able to actually get things printed. Okay, and now that I've got Buy Me a Coffee working, I've had my first withdrawal from it. Okay, meaning I can start looking at it and pushing that issue. And again, every one of the books, my consulting sessions, okay, the PDFs, the books in hardcover, the PDFs, and if you're just looking to support, to give me a hand just with buying me a coffee to help support what I do, it will be greatly appreciated. I've got this break line, okay, in my world, where once from all income sources, once I'm making $2,500 a month, I'll be able to actually start paying things back to the world in a proper fashion. But critical issue, guys, you have to be true to you first. If you don't take care of yourself before you take care of everybody else, you're going to become one of the people that requires assistance. Oops, that didn't work. Well, that was wrong. Just trying to calculate, and I hit times I should not have. That is, yeah. So I'm still a little short right now. I'm still having to fight tooth and nail to get ahead. But I will. As a matter of fact, March, because of the fact that something I had to do before is finally paid off. In April, I'll actually be above what I require. Or close enough to it that it won't matter. I'm still not going to be living high on the hog for a while. Okay, now understand, when I look at money, I do not look at it as, oh, if you've got money, you're better than the next person. I'm telling you, all that money does is it takes the stress away so you can actually relax a little. Something I should have actually paid attention to way before now. But trying to explain this to people on the whole doesn't work that well. This is why I've taken to putting the information, the self-help information, and that's actually not a bad idea. So on Monday, I do believe what we're going to do on Monday is really take a look. And you in all fairness, Christine, Joe, I will absolutely pass that on to them. I will absolutely say hi to Moon and Storm. Absolutely. The reality of it is that, Christine, you did make a good point. On Monday, when I'm in here, I'm going to go into looking at the different books I've got in a little more detail and explain exactly how they work and why they work, for that matter. The reality is I know they work because, well, frankly, I use them. And I passed them on to so many people over the years that it's going to end up, they're simple enough. And the way I look at the world is simple enough. It isn't a big challenge to get things organized. It's just you have to have the persistence. That's where a lot of the problem comes in. Motivation is seldom the complication in life, especially with most people that are struggling. Okay, it really boils down to this. If you're struggling to make ends meet, you're so caught up in trying to convince yourself you're happy that you can get sidetracked and lost in it. So what I'm tying off now is these little projects to make certain that we get ahead with them. Now, where am I? Oh, there we are. This is why I've got things I'm tracking. What is up there? Oh, I do not deal with those. I have no idea where those come. I'm just glancing at Facebook here. It's amazing how many people have Chinese writing and are asking for friendship, where I can't understand a thing they're saying. Guys, if you're not sending them a friend request to me or a communication request to me written in English, I'm not likely to answer it because I don't know how to get the translation. And quite frankly, I'm not overly concerned about it. This is why a lot of them I just straight delete. The other thing I find fascinating is the number of people that will approach me on Facebook and go, I'd like to be your friend. But I get requests like this, and I see on the first thing in their page is somebody barely dressed. Either male or female. Well, fairness, I get the ones that are barely dressed females. And that's on the front of the page. It's like, oh, can you be my friend? I'd like to get to know you. The answer is don't bother. I'm quite happily attached. And I never was into that side of it. Now, where are we? I need that one. Just to see if I missed something here. And what have we got going on there? That's trying to load itself. Oh, yes, I will have to go in to do that. So, grab this neat little thing while I'm here. Okay, that's always nice. And we are right there. Well, I am down to the last 5 minutes, guys. And I've been sitting here for 2 hours. Haven't got done as much as I would have, as I probably should have got done, but what the heck. With that in mind, I do want to remind you, any of the books that I've got are available at buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ. That's any of the books, The Consulting Connection. If you're just looking to get in touch with me, or if you're aiming to simply support what I'm doing, all of it will be appreciated, and it does work. The nice thing with Buy Me a Coffee is it cost us nothing to set it up, save effort, nothing to maintain it, and they take a minor percentage to make certain, to cover their expenses, which I don't have a problem with. They take a minor percentage of what I actually sell. Oh, there we go. I appreciate that, Christine. Yeah, I keep getting ones that are, and there's ones I'm sure that they're friends. I just don't go bother. But this is why I don't do that anymore. But one of the nice things, where it comes to a day in the office, I will be back in on Monday. Okay, but on Monday we're going to look at some of the reasoning behind the Believe in Your series. Okay, and show you why they work. Okay, now with that in mind, I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me tonight, guys. Really appreciate it. I will be back on air tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific with Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio and the ET Connection. Until we talk again, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.